I'm going over with the goal of becoming the youngest Irish person to summit Everest at the age of 22, with the previous being 26. I've kind of been blessed with a mindset where it's like, right, this is your job. You're waking up, you're doing this. You're over here. I'm absolutely blessed to go over and do this. I'm so fortunate to be able to do it. So you're over here. There's people in a lot worse situations. Kind of get up and shut up and go for it.
Welcome to the Thickness Podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Thickness Podcast. We are on our first episode of our interview basis now. We've got such a really interesting and fun guest for our first interview episode. We have Mr. Adam Sweeney. Adam is currently in Kathmandu with Jason Black, Pádraig O'Hora and Éanna. And they are the first Irish team in I think 30 years to attempt Everest. And Adam is attempting to be the youngest Irish person to summit Mount Everest. This was a really fun and entertaining chat. I got to chat to Adam just before he headed away. I think it was Thursday or Friday. And he is just, he's a ball of energy. A really down-to-earth young fella who has his head firmly screwed on his shoulders. He is dedicated and seems to be very driven and very hardworking. He said that he has grown up, all things outdoors. And his past is just doing random adventures and ending up doing some real big adventure stuff, like climbing the highest peak in each county. Stuff like that there. So yeah, it was just great. I texted Adam. I dropped him a message on Instagram asking would he have time first and would he mind coming on the podcast before he headed off. And I knew he was, under the scratch with everything that was going on before he left. Family commitments, training, even though he's tapering off really at this stage. Everything else, his time is valuable at this stage before he heads away for 2 months. So it was really appreciated that he agreed to come along and, have a chat with me for half an hour or so before he heads. And we got into a couple of different things, and it was a really interesting conversation with Adam. So yeah, we'll get into it here, folks, and hopefully you enjoy it. Stick around after the interview and we have a wee story for you. Alright folks, how are we getting on? Welcome to the Thickness Podcast with me, Niall Timoney, your host. This is the first episode that we're doing, I'm interviewing somebody. So I thought, who better to start it off than speaking with who is possibly going to be Ireland's youngest Mount Everest summiteer fairly shortly, in Adam Sweeney. So I'd like to introduce you. I'll let Adam give a brief introduction to himself and what he does. Adam,
yeah, thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Delighted to be the first guest. Yeah, so like you said, it's all go at the moment. On Monday we're heading over to go over and climb Everest there. So look, I'm going over with the goal of becoming the youngest Irish person to summit Everest at the age of 22, with the previous being 26. And then we're also going over as part of a team with, Jason Black, trying to become the first team in over 30 years to summit, first Irish team, should I say. So yeah, it's all hectic at the moment and stuff like that, and kind of gearing up for it. But it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. You're going out there with with a highly successful and extremely knowledgeable, I suppose, team leader in Jason. Who else? There's a couple of other guys on it. I know Park is on the team with you, and there's another fella, isn't there?
Yeah, Aina. So look, we've been kind of watching each other like a hawk for the last few months, making sure we're all doing the training, keeping each other accountable. So
Each other in check.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So no, looking forward to getting out there, and the boys are sound out. Like sure you know well, like.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So I suppose, what first inspired you, Adam, to take on something like Mount Everest?
Yeah, so I suppose it didn't just come with a thought there, yeah, yesterday, but yeah, so it was kind of, look, my parents kind of own an outdoor pursuits adventure centre down in Waterford here. So kind of from a young age, I was always in the water and stuff. Now I know that's fairly opposite than the highest mountain in the world, but I was always kind of having the crack in the water and stuff like that. And then kind of once COVID hit, I decided to cycle around the country, and I was from my two grannies. They died within like 2 days of each other of cancer. So I kind of just wanted to do something for the foundation that was for that helped them in their last little time. So I decided to cycle around the country, and I said, well, that's not enough. I'll hike the highest peak in every county I go through. So went around completely underprepared and stuff like that, but went around anyway, and we did it in a lot longer than I thought. This is at 16. Raised a good bit of money for them and stuff like that, so that was cool. And then since then, like, the mountains have just been class. Like, towards the end, I was loving going up the hills on the bikes and then hopping on the mountains and stuff. And then, look, it had always been a thought kind of in the back of my mind, reading stories of, I know it's not Everest, but Shackleton, Tom Crean, and then also like just reading stories about, like, say, Bear Grylls going over doing it. And then, look, the legends who kind of started all the Everest stuff as well. Like, but yeah, so it kind of shaped from there. I kind of had in the back of my mind from then. And then we kind of headed over to do the 3 peaks in the UK. In 24 hours, myself and my brother. But that was tough enough. More the lack of sleep, like, in the driving.
Yeah.
The driving was the hardest part of that, because there's nothing mental. There's kind of nothing mental in the heights and those. And then kind of after that, look, we made a big jump to Aconcagua, the highest mountain in South America. So from, what was it? My highest peak before was 1,300 to 6,962. Bit of a
Big
jump
jump.
now.
Big
Yeah,
jump.
yeah, but look, why take the easy route? So yeah, that's kind of how I kind of got into it, and that's how it's kind of developed and so on. And look, here we are now, about to head over to take on the highest mountain in the world.
Yeah, real sense of adventure there, Eddie. Like you're talking about Tom Crean and all them sort of them guys. Like, so I mean, look, it's going to be a serious adventure for you. Look at, you said it there. What, the youngest currently is 26 to have summited Everest.
Yeah, 26 was the youngest.
So I mean, how does it feel potentially that you're going to be taking that mantle fairly shortly?
Yeah, look, I'm kind of going in with the mindset, that I am. You kind of have that confidence going over as well. Look, things can go wrong over there. I know that, weather, stuff like that. So kind of, look, I've done all the training now and stuff like that. But look, it'll be really cool, obviously, to go over and get that. But if a younger person kind of came up to me when I got back and said, look, I want to take that, I want to be the youngest Irish person, I'd be like, right, let's do it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be a huge thing to me. More so, it'd be kind of cool to kind of inspire the younger generation, because I know a lot of people think that going over and doing these mountains, you might have to be a bit older and stuff like that, but you don't, like. And like, I'm not coming from whatever loads of money that I can just kind of fork it out and do all these trips and stuff like that. So like, if I can do it, kind of anyone can do it. You know what I mean? At any age, you can get the money and go over and do these things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look at it, anybody that's been following you, or for anybody, I suppose, that hasn't been following you, you're very active on Instagram. And I mean, it's obvious that you've been working with so many businesses and your sponsors to get, these trips aren't cheap.
No, they're tough, kind of.
Especially Everest. So, like, it's obvious that you're working hard in your training and all that, and it's also obvious that you're working hard to get the funding and that there. So, fair play to you. It's as you said there, it's an inspiring thing, Adam. Like, and I can guarantee you there will be plenty of young lads looking at this and following this and reading afterwards, and will be hugely inspired by it. So I would carry that with you, because it's a great thing that you're doing. Great thing that you're doing.
Yeah, looking forward to it now. Look, it's just kind of about putting it ahead and kind of going for it and stuff. Look, you know, kind of once you put your mind to it from listening to your Mare Peak and stuff like that. Once you put your mind to something, you fixate on it and you can kind of do it. You know you can do it, but you got to train like an absolute dog
Mm-hmm.
and put everything towards it. But it's all worth it in the end. Look, it's the most beautiful like country in the world when you go over here. You're just in awe constantly. You look left and there's massive mountains. You look right, massive mountains. There's nowhere you can look that looks bad. You know what I mean? The people over there are so nice. So look, really looking forward to getting out with the gang, who are also such good crack. You know what I mean? Having a
Yeah,
bit of
well,
banter over there is kind of a big thing.
you need that. Like, you need that, especially in the conditions. And like, I mean, if you get bad weather, you need the banter and the crack, and to be that tight knit team to sort of pull each other through. You know, the harder times of expedition life, I suppose. You touched on going up Aconcagua. What other, like, I'm sure there is a sort of, I'm sure because I spoke to Jason about this and I've heard him talk about it, but like what he calls the apprenticeship going to Everest. What other major peaks have you done, and what has been the training like, I suppose, leading up to this?
Yeah, so kind of the kind of most major one would be kind of Amadabam over in Nepal. So I was fortunate to go over 2 years ago to do it, and we were trying to become the first All Irish team to summit that. So a gang of us kind of went over, and it was absolute class and stuff like that. And we did Island Peak as our acclimatization and stuff like that. And look, at this point, Jason kind of knew that Everest was on the cards, and I kind of knew that Everest was on the cards, and we said we'll go over and kind of see how we go with this one. So, look, we went up, and it was really tough. Like the conditions were absolutely brutal. It was freezing and stuff like that. And I was kind of fortunate to become the only fella on the team with my Sherpa to some of the top. Unfortunately, the other lads kind of stuff went wrong with them and stuff like that. And look, I'm sure they'll be back doing it again because that's kind of the number one thing on their mind. So, kind of getting up there with my Sherpa and kind of looking over at Everest was kind of it was kind of a surreal moment, kind of looking and seeing, all right, well, in whatever a year's time, you're going to be going over doing that, and now it's what, it's 5 days until we go out. Look, I've
Mental.
done other peaks like Grand Paradis, so we went over to Morocco. There was like an avalanche over there, so we didn't get up that, and then Mount Blanc, we were close to getting to the top. But look, yeah, it's kind of been a few. Look, I've done most of my training in Ireland. You know yourself with it, like you can do a lot of your training in Ireland. So most of it has been done in Ireland, and then going over and kind of getting the odd expedition in here and there.
Maybe. Yeah, look, I mean, as you say, there's so many training opportunities in this country close to, especially if you live outside any of the major cities. And even if you live in the major cities, they're not far away from you. You know, I mean, you can spend hours in Wicklow and that there, or Donegal, or any of the counties, and get a serious amount of training. And if you have the right tools and skills, I suppose, and mindset for it. Let's see. Okay, so has there been any way of simulating, I suppose, like the high altitude conditions, or do you feel that with your training that you've done already, you acclimatise fairly well and you're okay on that end?
Yeah, so with the first one, Aconcagua, that was kind of, as I was saying, it was a big jump, kind of going from 1,300 to 6,962. So that was kind of different. I wasn't really prepared for it and stuff like that. I didn't know what it was going to be like on my body and stuff like that. So I didn't know how important food, water, stuff like that was. So going over doing AMA then, I kind of fixated on that, kind of making sure to eat, making sure to drink and stuff like that. And I haven't really gotten any tents or something like that. So kind of all my altitude training is when I go abroad and stuff and do those bits. So I don't really do any altitude at home. But look, it's kind of just about fixating on the little things, sleep, as I was saying, sleep, drink, water, and stuff like that. And kind of once I went over and did the last one, once I did AMA, I kind of realized, right, you have it kind of nailed. So kind of just do something similar and stuff like that. So look, of course, it's going to be a different beast. We are taking oxygen at Camp 3. So that'll be interesting as well. Now, that being said, it's not going to be full flowing oxygen like you're breathing. You and I are breathing down here, but it will be a big helper. Yeah, looking forward to going out and having a good test, because you don't want to be too easy either, do you?
God, absolutely not. And look at, I suppose, again, knowing the way Jason works, Jason has a plan for steady acclimatization by the time, I suppose, you get to base camp and that there. Because I mean, like, some people don't understand. Like, your base camp trek is 10 days.
Yeah. So 10 to 12 days, I think it is.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, you know, you have a heavy workload in you before you get to base camp. And then it's what you're in base camp for. I suppose you're waiting on your window, your weather window to summit.
Yeah, so kind of plan of action is we're going over, and yeah, like you said, 10 to 12 days into base camp. And what's kind of cool is we're actually walking in with people that are just going into the base camp trek, and then people are going off doing Island Peak and Amadabam. So there'll be a nice gang of us actually going over, which would be cool for a little bit. And then once we get to base camp, you're probably talking about 4 or 5 days just resting, kind of getting your body used to it, and then kind of a rotation starts. So we're doing our rotations on Everest. I know some people do it on different mountains, but we've decided to do it on Everest. So we're going to go up to Camp 1, and then we'll stay there at night, come back down, and then once you come back down, we might rest for 3 days again. Do the same, go to 2, come back down, rest for a few days, go to 3, come back down. And then once we've gone to 3 and come back down, that's kind of the last one, because, you know, up in Camp 4 is very near the dead zone. You're not really getting much benefit in being up there. So kind of, you're told we're maybe talking... We're leaving March 30th, and you're maybe talking 16th, 17th, 18th is our weather window. So we'll kind of see what the crack is with that.
Okay, so it's not the typical gap that I've read about, I suppose. Like, I mean, geez, I've read more articles on it where guys could be in base camp for a month or two before they even think about a weather window, you know. So yeah.
Well, it could be like that is the only thing. It could be, you know. You never know, really. Look, it's kind of whenever there is a weather window. I think a few seasons ago there was only one, and that's where you saw all the queues and stuff. So hopefully we're kind of hoping we're going over the full time, so we'll be acclimatized and ready to go. Hopefully by the first one that comes, you know what I mean?
And take it as it comes then at that stage. Yeah. Okay. So is there anything that scares you about the climb?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good question, because look, at the end of the day, we've all heard kind of the horror stories and stuff like that. Look, I'm kind of come to terms with what can happen and stuff like that, but it's about kind of trusting yourself and going over. And look, I know I'm kind of young and stuff and doing it, but like doing the research, it's only 100-200 people kind of die that get summit. So the odds aren't as bad as people might think. But look, I'm well aware of what can happen, and look, there can be bad days and stuff like that. But I think, look, I know it sounds very cliche, but like I think it kind of what would scare me a bit more is not going over and actually giving it a go and kind of saying, look, well, I'm not going to do it because it's gonna scare me and stuff like that. But yeah, look, I'm sure when I'm over there, doubts might creep in and stuff like that, and you might see stuff that you might not want to see. But that's all part of the kind of expedition and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose you can't let something like that there deter you from something that is, you know, so close to your heart or whatever it is that you want to do. You know, you can't let things like that put you off it. Okay, so how do you deal with doubt or moments that, you know, you might feel overwhelmed and that?
Yeah, so like on say the previous peaks and stuff like that, there has kind of been, there's points, look, I'm sure you had them on mirror and stuff like that, but there's just points where you're like, right, turn around. But that's kind of the point where you kind of have to dig in, throw the heels in, and just kind of go for it. You always have more than you think. You might not realize it, but you do have a lot more than you think. Look, the thing is with it, there is a point where it might become unsafe if you're digging in too much. But look, it's about knowing your body and stuff like that. I've kind of been blessed with a mindset where it's like, right, this is your job. You're waking up, you're doing this, you're over here. Like I always say, like, I'm absolutely blessed to go over and do this. I'm so fortunate to be able to do it. So you're over here. There's people in a lot worse situations. Kind of get up and shut up and go for it. Like, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a like giving out to yourself at some points. But look, it's also about the people around you. Kind of, they're giving you kind of positivity and stuff like that. And hearing like people at home kind of, look, just having the chats and kind of saying, oh yeah, best of luck, and just kind of having all that support behind you. It does really help. Like, it kind of pushes you, and hopefully it'll push us right the way to flying the Irish flag at the top.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look at, I suppose it's taken the likes of your friend group and stuff like that there, and those conversations you're having with close friends and family, it's taking them in and taking them with you and being able to sort of pull on them when need be. Do you have a mantra that you use when things get tough?
I won't even lie to you. My brain kind of goes blank. I'm kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I might be singing a song a few times, and it might
Uh,
be the worst song that you'll ever hear, and I'd hate it when I come back home. But no, I wouldn't really have a mantra as such. But it's more about just kind of look, just go for it and stuff like that. And
Brilliant.
look, it's worked out so far, so we'll see how we get on over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? Okay, so look at you've touched on this as well, I suppose, and it's flying the Irish flag at the top. What does it mean to represent Ireland on a global stage?
Yeah, that kind of look that means a lot, to be honest with you. It's one thing where like when everyone's texting and just saying they're just kind of like, oh yeah, best of luck, fly the Irish flag, and all the people kind of just talking about it, and even going down on walks, and people are kind of coming up and being like, oh yeah, do this, as in like in a good way. They're kind of like, oh yeah, best of luck bringing the Irish flag. And I think, look, we're so blessed to be in a country that is, it's a great country, like, you know what I mean. So it'll be really cool to kind of go over and hopefully, look, people will see it, and like that they'll want to kind of get into it as well, because look, there's so much you can do over here as well. So kind of going over and look, flying it is, it's class, like it's class. And look, we'll bring the Waterford flag up as well. I got one of them the other day, so kill the two birds with one stone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, look, at I suppose there is for most people that feel any kind of draw or pull to Ireland as part of their identity. We feel very proud to be Irish, and we feel, I suppose, we're so well travelled as a country, and we're so well liked. Majority of us, when we go away to foreign countries, you know, it's like I laughed when we went to Lukla. We landed into Lukla with Jason and our group. We were walking up to our cafe to meet the Sherpas and reporters. We passed an Irish bar.
I know, it's so funny, isn't it?
You know, you're just going, there isn't a corner of the planet that there isn't a fucking Irish bar tucked in the, you know, and it shows, I suppose, it shows the draw of that we have as a culture and as a country. But it also, I suppose, it also, for me, for somebody to be proud to be standing on top of the highest point, the highest part of the world, to be standing there with an Irish flag, you know, to be waving that and to be proud to be from the country. I mean, I suppose it's something I found your pride in your country very much comes through in your stories and your Instagram page. So I mean, it's something that I can relate to.
Yeah, look, we're very blessed with kind of all the politics and stuff like that here, I suppose, what's going on in the world. And look, we're kind of, in fairness, we're kind of seem to be going for the right cause and stuff like that. So look, like you said, like how lucky we are to be from a country like we are.
Yeah, absolutely. How has your community reacted to your goal and got behind you?
Yeah, it's been absolutely class. Like with the likes of sponsorship, like people are always saying go after the big companies, but like the local community is unbelievable. You know, like the local chipper, the local Sentry, all that. Like they're all kind of supporting you. And then when you're going down to the shop or something, a load of people will stop you and be like, "Oh, best of luck. We'll see you when you get back." So it's kind of, look, it's nice to know that you have the support and stuff like that, and even from family and friends and stuff. Like it's huge, because you can't go out and do these things. You're not going out to do these by yourself. There's people at home kind of waiting for you, and they're expecting you back. And look, the last mountain I went to, there was when I got home, there was a load of people kind of waiting at the driveway just from the local community. So just kind of going out and hopefully doing them proud is actually quite nice, and it's nice to have that in the back pocket on the way up, and kind of realize that, look, you have people to be going home to as well. So don't make any stupid decisions. But it's huge. It's huge, like.
Yeah, it is. And look at it's always nice to have the support of everybody in your community. And I can imagine you walking down the street, you're getting stopped probably by everybody you know, and they're looking to see how you're feeling and all that. What would success mean to you beyond reaching the summit?
Yeah, well, look, I think a lot of people kind of fixate on the summit of all these mountains and stuff like that, but you're only up there for such a, like, 15, 20 minutes. And like, you could be over there for whatever, like we're over there for 2 months. You could be over there for 3 weeks, 10 days. But like, whenever people tell stories, it's so rarely about the summit. it's about like the journey and the crack you had and all the stories. But now that being said, obviously we all want to stand on top of the mountain, you know. That's kind of a big
Absolutely.
goal. But for me going over, look, I'd love to stand up there, but I'm looking forward to taking on everything else and stuff like that. Yeah, look, success to me in general is just about being kind of put it bluntly, it's just about being sound and kind of not taking life too seriously and having the laughs and stuff like that. And look, this isn't the end all and stuff like this. Like, I suppose success to me wouldn't be getting to the top; it'd be more coming home and having the stories and stuff like that. Because look, like I was saying before, there is people that are expecting you home, and you have to, because there's a lot more to do. Like we have to be seeing Ireland in the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, but this is it. You know, I read something there, and I'm going to mess this quote up. What was it? Something is optional, and home is mandatory. Something like that. You know, and it was like it very is much that. It's great to be standing on top of all these peaks, but you have to get back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What has preparing Everest changed you? How has it changed you as a person, or has it changed you?
Yeah, well, it'll make me very disciplined, I suppose. Look, these last, in particular, 6 months has kind of been like I'm in final year college now, so I deferred my exams until the summer when I get back, so I've that to be worrying about when I come home, thankfully. But so since December on, like I've been fully focused on kind of doing Everest and stuff like that. So waking up, training, kind of getting fun together, stuff like that. But look, I don't think it's changed. I wouldn't say it's changed me too much. Like I wouldn't see myself any different. And to be honest, with you, I wouldn't like to, I wouldn't like it to either, because you know, there's still a lot of other things that are kind of important. So kind of going seeing friends, family. Look, you can really fixate onto the point where kind of you do nothing else. But in the set, like I kind of been doing, kind of keeping normal life as well, because that's important. Like, but no, I wouldn't say it's changing massively. Besides being more disciplined and kind of, look, I suppose when you go out to these countries, you kind of have a real appreciation for how you grew up and kind of the life you have, because there is kind of like, look, you see it out there, but the poverty is like, it's so tough. So like going out to these things and kind of meeting these people and kind of hearing their stories, you're kind of like, wow, how lucky I have and stuff like this, and how happy they are. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I suppose from that aspect, you're kind of reflecting on yourself, and you're kind of, well, why am I getting down when, look, these people they don't have much at all and they're happy the whole time, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I suppose, and I'm sure you've seen this when you've been out in Nepal and that there, but I found it anyway, definitely, when we were hiking up, that like all the tea houses that you stay in, or the majority of them, are owned primarily by some Sherpa or porter that has summited Everest at some stage, because that's the only way they get the money to build these tea houses. And like we had one guy on us, and his name was gone from my head, but I think he summited 8 times.
Wow.
And like, you know, they're so down to earth. And we stayed in his tea house one night. It was actually the night that Jason was staying with Mary, who had the fall. And like he was just so down to earth, so genuine. He couldn't do enough for us. He knew what had happened that day with the fall, and he knew we were all kind of a wee bit shook from it. And he just couldn't do enough. And there was that language barrier, but he was out with tea, and he was just constantly making sure that we were all right. So I think in that aspect, as you said, like, I mean, it's lovely to see, you know, there is huge poverty out there, but it's also nice to see that the money that is put into all these expeditions in Nepal does generally go to the right people, and it is sourced back then into the community, you know.
Yeah, I know, it is lovely. And like even like that, like he's got 8 Everest expeditions, and I'm sure he's, you know, bringing down your dinner, and you're almost looking at this man, you're in awe of what he's done. Like,
Not,
they're fantastic people, and look, they don't get enough credit.
Not at all. Okay. So you kind of touched on this as well, but we didn't get. You didn't give me an answer. I didn't ask you the question. But what is after? Is there another goal, taking seed in the head for another adventure of some form afterwards? I'm sure there is, to the sound.
Yeah, it's going to be weird now, because this has kind of been 2 years kind of trend towards this, and like that, I'm only 22, like, so it's kind of like I'm definitely not done. I can tell you that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got kind of I want to do like 100 kilometer ultra with the sister, but now that's not going for time. But mountain wise, I'd like to go over and kind of do some mountain solo. So go back to like Aconcagua and then actually go give it a go kind of by myself and stuff like that. And then look, I suppose there is kind of the 8,000 meter draw and stuff like that. So kind of see how many of those I can tick off. But like that, I'd say I'd like to go over and kind of do a few solo and just kind of really push and kind of carry everything you need and stuff like that. But yeah, there's definitely, look, I know once I go over there and I'm speaking to everyone in base camp, there's going to be something that's going to pop up because I'm going to probably be like, oh, geez, that sounds class. And then you never know where you're going to end up because obviously all those people have probably done crazy stuff. So I'll be listening to them and I'll go, right, that's next. Yeah, definitely not done after this. But look, we'll see. Like, you never know. I might have to go back and do this fella again, or maybe do it from the north side or something like this.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, look, there's a couple of quickfire questions, sort of just to run out the final section of this. Coffee or tea before a climb?
Tea. Always.
Tea. Strong
yeah, I would be
tea
strong.
or- yeah.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be a fan of the coffee. Like it gets me all jittery and stuff like that. So tea all the way.
One song you'd bring to the summit?
Oh, that's very good. That's a very good one. I think it would have to be a bit of Fleetwood Mac. If I could listen to it just before, probably Landslide. I don't know if I could listen to that and just enjoy it. I just love them, you know, and I could sing all the words and stuff like that.
Class. Good choice. Fantastic choice. Biggest luxury item you wish you could pack?
Me full bed. I wish I could pack that. That'd be great.
That would be handy, wouldn't it? Okay, last one. This is the big one. Describe Everest in one word.
Beautiful, I suppose. Has to be. It's one of the most incredible mountains in the world. Look, there's been a lot of stories for a reason and stuff over there. So to go over and kind of look, I might have another word when I come back. It might be a different story. It might be absolute arsehole or something like that when I come back.
No, I think that's probably, if you asked anybody who's ever seen a picture of it or anything like that, that's how it would be described. Adam, I can only wish you every bit of luck going. You and Jason and the rest of the team, you are going out there attempting to achieve a couple of really big goals, and you are in great care and great hands with Jason and the rest of the team that he'll have built alongside it. Yeah, look at, I'll be following it along. I'll be following the stories. I'll be dying to get all the info. And I'm super, super hopeful for you. I think following your stories and that there, I know what a machine you are, and you're very, very hopeful that we'll be seeing a picture of you standing on the summit with the Irish flag.
Thank you very much. Like, I appreciate all the kind words and stuff like that. And look, hopefully I'll come back with a few more stories and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully we'll go out and we'll give it a good stab if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I appreciate you coming on tonight, because I know, as I said the day before we started recording, your time is precious, and this was sort of a last minute me dropping you and sliding into the DMs. So I do appreciate you coming on, and look, as I said, Adam, wishing you all the best. I'll put your socials up into the show notes, so that anybody that is listening that isn't following you can follow along. I'll stick Jason's in as well, because you know how social media mad Jason is.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Look, it's really nice to have a chat and stuff like that.
Appreciate it, Adam. All right, look, wishing you all the best, and we will talk to you when you get back.
Thank you very much. We'll chat to you soon now.
Cheers.
Bye.
So, that was Adam. That was Adam's story before he heads off to Nepal. As I said before the interview there, he's currently in Kathmandu. As of me recording this, the 1st of April, Jason Black has just landed. to join the team, along with a couple of other ones that are joining them on the hike and heading for Island Peak and base camp and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you've felt the same sense that I did from Adam. He's really goal orientated. He is extremely driven and seems to be an awfully sound young fella. And I'm hoping that we get a picture from him standing on the summit of Everest in a couple of weeks' time, 3-4 weeks' time. It'll be massive to get that under his belt, and I really just do wish them, all the luck in the world and the best of skill. So, yeah, gonna wrap it up with a little story of complete and utter thickness. So this is a news story from a patient in India. I'll put a screenshot in here so you can see for anybody that's watching. But this is a story of a patient that came into the internet's view and internet's eye, going viral because he is in hospital with both his hands heavily bandaged and in plaster after an accident. But he has not let his physical limitations, disconnect him from the outside world. He has learned how to scroll social media with his feet. Yep. He cannot lay in his hospital bed with his hands bandaged and not be able to scroll social media. Doom scrolling at its best, it's your big toe. So there you go, folks. That's a little bit of thickness with a little bit of lightheartedness to finish up the episode. So we will see you on the flip side. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview. If you did, please give it a share. Tell all your friends, like and subscribe. And I've got a couple of really, really interesting chats coming up. Some real interesting guests, and all will be revealed on the social channels very shortly. But yeah, look at, I'm liking the direction that this is going to go in, folks. So I hope you enjoy it too, and we will talk to you all again very shortly. Ahoy.